Bruchim Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Memtes Amud Beis. Starting with Daf Memtes Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the bottom. After the Gemara tells us that an Amhars who marries a Bas Talmid Chacham, the Zivug, is not going to be Oile Yafeh, the Gemara continues to speak on this subject. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanon, La'olam, always, Yimkor Adam Komashi Yesh Loi V'yisa Bas Talmid Chacham. A person should sell all that he has in order to then marry a daughter of a Talmid Chacham. She'im meis oigoyle muvdach loy shebonov Talmidei Chachamim. Here the Gemara anticipates something that a person doesn't necessarily think about. If that person were to die, then at least the father-in-law will help raise the child. And since the father-in-law is a Talmid Chacham, and the daughter is a Bas Talmid Chacham, his wife, thereby they will then raise children who are going to be careful and scrupulous in mitzvahs. V'al bas amei haaretz she'im meis oy goyle bonav amei haaretz. And if the opposite, he marries then a bas am haaretz, and he were to die, then the child will be raised by the grandfather who's an am haaretz, together with the daughter who's a bas am haaretz, whereby the children also become amei haaretz. Tonu Rabbanon, the Gemara brings the following brayso la'olam. Again, always, Yimkor Adam Komashi Yesh Loi V'yisa Bas Talmid Chacham. A person should always sell his property, what he has, all that he has, in order to marry a daughter of a Talmid Chacham. V'yasi Bitoy LeTalmid Chacham, and marry the daughter of a Talmid Chacham. Mashal le'in ve'agefen be'in ve'agefen. Dover na u'miskabel. This is a mashal of the grapes of a vine that mixed with grapes of a vine. The two of them mixed together to make beautiful, delicious grapes and beautiful, delicious wine, whereby that is the union between somebody who marries the daughter of a Talmid Chacham, or he marries his daughter to a Talmid Chacham. V'lo yisa bas amar is the opposite, and you shall not marry the daughter of an Amar, because mashal le'in ve'hagefen le'in ve'in ve'hasneh. It's a mashal of the grapes of a vine that mixed together with a sneh, a type of thorn bush. Dover ko'ur, something that's not acceptable, ve'eno miskabel. And therefore, one has to be careful. In our day and age, a daughter of a Talmid Chacham is explained also as the fact that if she has gone to the proper schooling with Yirei Shomayim, who have taught her the Derech HaTorah and Halachos and Musar, then she's also begeder a Talmid Chacham in this, a Bas Talmid Chacham in this regard. Tonu Rabbanon, the Gemara Daf Memtes Amud Beis says the following: Lo oilam yimkor Adam kol ma sheyesh loi v'yisa Bas Talmid Chacham. Again, a person should always sell all that he has to marry the daughter of a Talmid Chacham. Lo yimotza bo Talmid Chacham. If he did not find a daughter of a Talmid Chacham, then Yisa Bas Gedolei Hador. Then he shall marry the daughter of Gedolei Hador. Here, Gedolei Hador certainly doesn't mean the greatest of the generation, because that would then be the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. Rather, it refers to Anshe Maisa V'Tzadikim, people of great deeds, righteous people. If you can't find a daughter of Anshe Maisa V'Tzadikim, Gedolei Hador, Lo Motzamas Gedolei Hador, Yanisa Bas Rosh Knesios, then you should marry the daughter of communal leaders. Lo Motzabas Rosh Knesios, Yisa Bas Gabei Tzedakah, then you should try to marry a daughter, at least of a Gabei Tzedakah, of those who can collect money, who are scrupulous and ehrlich. Lo Motzabas Gabei Tzedakah, Yisa Bas Milamdei Tinoikos, then you should marry a daughter of people, somebody who teaches children. V'lo yisa bas amei haaretz, then mipnei v'lo yisa bas amei haaretz mipnei shehein sheketz. You shall not marry the daughter of an am haaretz because they are sheketz. V'nishoseim sheretz, v'al benoiseim hu oimer orur sheichiv im kol behema. Since indeed one who were then to marry the daughter of the am haaretz, that daughter of the am haaretz is going to be somebody who has the wrong type of chinuch, whereby it's considered to be sheichiv im kol behema, somebody who doesn't understand Torah and mitzvahs, and will not then be able to guide her husband and her children in the correct way. Tanya, the Gemara brings the following brisa, Rebbe Omer, Am ha'aretz osur le'echol basar. The Am ha'aretz is prohibited from eating basar. Brings a pasuk Shneimar, it states, Zois toiras ha'behema v'ha'oif. And now the Gemara makes a drasha. The Pashup Pshat is that this is the laws of the kashrus of behema and oif, but the fact that it says toiras, the Gemara makes the following drasha, kol ha'oisik ba'toira muter le'echol basar behema v'oif. One who is oisik, he's involved, he's engrossed in learning Torah, then he can eat basar and oif. However, kol she'eino oisik ba'Torah, the opposite, osir le'echol basar behema v'oif. However, somebody who does not involve himself in Torah learning, he cannot eat then the basar of behema and oif. Rabbi Elazar said the following: Am ha'aretz mutar l'noichroi b'yom ha'kippurim shechal liyos b'Shabbos. He says you can tear apart, or so you can stab an am ha'aretz on Yom HaKippurim that comes out to be in Shabbos, which causes a lot of blood. The Mefarshim explain that over here that you can embarrass the am ha'aretz even on Yom HaKippurim, where it's a day of brotherlyhood, and it's Shabbos Kodesh. Nonetheless, you can embarrass him as if a person is sticking him with a dagger, is stabbing him, which causes a lot of blood. Just like a person who's embarrassed, his blood then comes out to his face and he gets pale. First becomes reddened and then he becomes pale. Amru loi Talmidov, the Talmidim said to him, Rebbe, Amr l'shoichtoi, you should say instead, you should shecht him. Why are you saying that you can only noichroi? Omar lehen, because zeh toin bracha v'zeh eino toin bracha. When it comes to shechting, that requires a bracha, meaning to say that when you shecht an animal, granted there's a lot of blood, which might seem to be a better comparison, but no, when you shecht, you say a bracha because the animal is used for this purpose. That means that's the purpose of why the animal was created, to be shechted, to be able to be eaten by human beings. But the Am Ha'aretz, you don't want to say a bracha because he's not using the title of Adam in the proper way and being a Yid. And therefore, if he's not learning Torah, therefore you don't want to give him that comparison because he's not then fulfilling his purpose. It's prohibited to be escorted together with an Am Ha'aretz on the road. In a desolate place, nobody's around, he's liable to harm you. Shneimar says in the Pasuk, the Pasuk is referring to the Torah. The Torah is your life and the length of your days. Al chayiv loichos, if the Am Ha'aretz is not going to be concerned about his own life, al chayiv chaver lokoshaken, then certainly the life of his fellow man he's not going to be then careful about. And therefore, if he's not oisik in Torah, which is considered to be chayim and arichus yomim, then you can't then be alone with him because he might be liable to then harm you. Omer Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Am ha'aretz muter lekaro kedag. He says you can split him open, you can tear him open like a fish. Again, that causes blood to come out, and that will then cause him to be embarrassed. Omer Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchok umigabo. He says even from the back, which is even more effective. Says the Gemara Tanya, bringing the following brayso, Omer Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said about himself, Kishahisi Am Ha'aretz, when I was an Am Ha'aretz, the first 40 years of Rabbi Akiva's life, he did not learn Torah. He was considered to be an Am Ha'aretz. Omarti, I said to myself, Mi'itein li Talmid Chochem, ve'anashchenu kechamor. Who will bring me a Talmid Chochem? I will bite him like a donkey. What's the comparison to a donkey? A donkey bite? Omru Talmid of Rebbe, Emor kikelef, say like a dog. That's the typical way that we describe an animal biting a person. Omar lehe, and Rabbi Akiva respond to his Talmidim, ze noishech v'shoiver etzem, v'ze noishech v'eino shoiver etzem. The chamor, the donkey, when it bites so deeply, it breaks the bone. Whereas the dog, granted it bites, but does not break the bone. And therefore, I was in such a kina and sina, jealousy and hatred towards the Talmidei Chachamim, that if you give me a Talmid Chacham, I would have bitten him to the bone and broke his bones like a chamor. Tanya, the Gemara brings the following brayso, Hayu Rabbi Meir Omer, Kol hamasi bitoy la Am Ha'aretz, and who marries his daughter to an Am Ha'aretz, Ki'ilu koifta umenicha lifnei ari. It's as if he bound her up and he gave her over to an ari, to a lion. Ma ari dores va'oichel. Just as the lion, when he eats, he tramples on his prey and he then consumes, he eats that which he's preying upon. He doesn't wait till it dies. He eats it even while it's still alive. Ve'in lo boishes ponim, and therefore he's not embarrassed to do so. Af am haaretz make uboyel ve'in lo boishes ponim. So to the am haaretz, he's make uboyel his wife and has no boishes. He has no embarrassment. What is the comparison between the ari who is dores ve'oichel and the am haaretz who is make uboyel? Take a look at Tosfos, who says Pirush Rabbeinu Tam. Dores ve'oichel ve'ein mamtinin al shetomus. When it comes to the ari, he pounces on his prey and doesn't wait for the animal to die. He goes ahead and consumes it immediately. Says Rabbeinu Tam, af am haaretz ein mamtin ashet hispais. The Amaretz is not sensitive to his wife, and therefore doesn't wait for pius, for it to be appeased, and therefore it's as if he's make uboyel in an insensitive, forceful way. Tani, the Gemara brings a brayso to Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Ilmolei anu tzrichim lohem lamasa umaton. If it wasn't for the fact that the Amei Haaretz need us to perform business dealings with them, hayu hargin oisonu, they would destroy us, they would get rid of us and kill us. Tani Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia taught the following brayso. Kol ha'oiseg bat Torah lifnei am haaretz kilu boil arusosa befonov. Anybody who learns Torah in front of the Am Haaretz, that Talmid Chacham was learning Torah before the Am Haaretz, as if he is being boil, the betrothed of the Am Haaretz. Shenemar brings a posuk, Torah tziva lanu moirasha. The Torah was given and commanded by Moshe to Klal Yisrael as an inheritance. Says the Gemara, Al tikre moirasha, ella mu'urasa. Don't read an inheritance, rather the mu'urasha would be with a sin, pronounced mu'urasa, like and her betrothed. In other words, when the Torah was given to Klal Yisrael, it was given as a woman who was betrothed to Klal Yisrael. When the Bar Yisrael then learns the Torah, as the Talmid Chacham does, he now takes that Torah and makes her not only as a betrothed woman to him, but rather as a wife to him. Whereas the Amars who never then went to the stage of learning the Torah, she remains betrothed, whereby one who learns in front of the Am Haaretz is as if he's being boil arusosoi bifonov. Gemara now tells us the hatred of the Am Haaretz. Gedoylo sina shesoinin Amei Haaretz litalmid chacham yoisem misina shesoinin oivdei koichovim es Yisrael. Greater is the hatred of the Amei Haaretz towards the Talmidei Chachamim than that of the Amei Umas Ha'olam who hate Klal Yisrael. Unishosem yoisimhem, the wives of the Amei Haaretz even more than themselves. Vetana, the Gemara brings a brayso, Shona upeirash yoisim mikulan, one who did learn and then he left the learning. That person who was parash, that person hates them more than anybody else. How do we explain the Gemara? As follows. When it comes to the Umois Ha'olam, we have a halacha that Esav is soine es Yaakov. There's a sina, that they have an inborn sina towards Klal Yisrael. But the Am Haaretz says, I'm Klal Yisrael. I'm more closer to Klal Yisrael. And therefore, I'm somebody who's then mechuyev to learn Torah too. Whereby he looks upon the Talmid Chacham with a sina greater than the Umas Ha'olam. The wise of the Talmid Chacham, they are busy slaving away, making a clean house, raising the children, taking care of everything. And they say, why is my husband not like that person, a Talmid Chacham? Why doesn't he utilize his koichos to learn Torah? Whereby her sina is greater than even the Am Haaretz's sina towards the Talmid Chacham. Where then the Gemara brings then somebody who was himself a Talmid Chacham. He tasted the sweetness of the Torah. When he left the learning of the Torah, he has even a greater disdain than anybody else because of his connection that he once upon a time had towards the Torah. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanon, Shisha Dvorim Nemru Ba'am Haaretz. There are 6 things that were stated in regards to the Am Haaretz. Ein moisin lahen edus. Do not give them a opportunity to then be present where they'll be made edus. Ve'ein mekablim menu edus, and don't accept their edus altogether. Ve'ein megalin lahen soy. Don't reveal to them a secret because they themselves will not be careful to keep it a secret. They'll reveal the secret to others. Don't appoint them to be a fiduciary of the Yesoimim on their property because they're not erlich. They're not careful with the mitzvahs, and therefore they're not careful also with bein adam lachaveiro, so they may come to steal. Equally so, they will not be careful with the money that is given to the kupa shel tzedakah for the aniyim, and they might take for themselves. Also, as we said before, they cannot then allow them to be escorting you alone on the road where it's going to be a place that is barren and empty of other people because it's dangerous. They don't have care for their and concern for their own life because they don't learn the Torah, and they're not then careful with the mitzvahs. So too then they won't be careful with somebody else's life either. And there are those that say, Af ein machrizin al avidoso. Also, not to have to announce in Aveda to the Am Haaretz that lost an article. Here the Pasuk states, in regards to Aveda, it says, Achicho. You're to return the lost article to your brother. And that means somebody who's an Achicha, your brother in Torah and mitzvahs. The Am Haaretz who's not only not learning, but he's also not careful to keep the mitzvahs. That Am Haaretz, something that you don't have to then return his lost object. V'tana kamo. Zimnin, Dinofik, Minei Zare, Ma'ali Va'ochile. Ask the Gemara, what about the Tana Kama who does say that you would have to return his lost article? It's only the Yesh Oimrim that bring you don't have to return the lost article of the Am Haaretz. So what did the Tana Kama hold? Says the Gemara again, Zimnin, there'll be times, Dinofik, Minei Zare, Ma'ali Va'ochile. There'll be times when the Am Haaretz has a prodigy, has somebody who's a descendant who is fitting, and he may then come and he will benefit from this lost article. Shnema says in the Pasuk, Yochin v'tzadik yilbash, the one who will prepare the beged, the garment, and he doesn't get the use out of it, but rather v'tzadik, his prodigy, his descendant, who's a tzaddik, he will then wear that garment. So therefore, in regards to the Am Haaretz, says the Tana Kama, it's worthwhile, although it says achicha, but it would be worthwhile to still give the lost article to the Am Haaretz.